The story opens with Elder Qiu Xita self-destructing, his entire immortal godly body exploding, creating a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering wave of energy that shook the treasure room. That moment was both tragic and sorrowful. He smiled, closed his eyes, and sacrificed himself to preserve the inheritance of his race. The violent power pushed the four great experts into a perilous situation. Xinghuan, Illusory Star King, screamed as he resisted in despair, his body heavily injured. Luo Feng, relying on layers of defensive treasures, managed to survive, though his battle armor was completely destroyed. Qianxia, Golden Spear King, remained cold and unyielding, his body reforming instantly, even after being shattered. Most suspicious of all was Zizhong, Purple Bell King, who was almost completely unharmed, drawing everyone's attention to the secret he was concealing. Meanwhile, the three natives, Po I Ladi Mo and Monbo, witnessed the scene in pain. The last words of Elder Qiu Xita resounded, leaving behind faith and responsibility. The inheritance must be preserved and the race must surely rise again. This was a deeply emotional moment, balancing grief with hope. Later, the climax rose as all four experts tried one after another to open the treasure chest but failed. The Golden Spear King revealed his ambition, wanting to force the other three to leave first through God Kingdom teleportation, so that he could hunt them down at his convenience. Facing a common threat, Luo Feng, the Illusory Star King, and the Purple Bell King were forced to temporarily ally. Tension peaked when Zizhong pulled out a black fire god crystal grade A8, declaring that if pushed too far, they would all perish together. Within the treasure room, conflict among the four experts erupted. The Purple Bell King revealed his trump card, the Fire God Crystal Grade A8, a treasure powerful enough to annihilate a peak universe king-level expert. But instead of directly risking detonation, he plotted to use the Purple Ancient Bell, a supreme treasure that once belonged to a universe venerable, to compress the shockwave. Multiplying the might of the Fire God Crystal tenfold, aimed straight at the Golden Spear King. In desperation, the Golden Spear King, the most arrogant of them all, chose to self-destruct, turning himself into a living bomb. Two ultimate forces collided, piercing through the treasure room and creating a colossal crater 6,000 kilometers wide, sweeping away all the treasures and valuables accumulated over countless years. The already gravely wounded Illusory Star King fell completely, while Luo Feng, though struggling, still managed to hide his true body and his world rings surviving within the sea of flames. After the destruction, the Purple Bell King seemed to be the sole victor. He frantically gathered countless treasures, his heart full of greed and illusions of a glorious future. Yet all his calculations collapsed when Luo Feng suddenly appeared, smiling coldly and calmly, saying, "Thank you," revealing that the majority of the spoils, including the chain treasure chest, had already fallen into his hands. Outside, the three natives, Po I Ladi Mo and Monbo, mourned the elder's sacrifice and the destruction of the treasure room. However, they still preserved the inheritance hall, the most precious thing that would allow their race to survive and nurture the hope of rising again. The cry of rise echoed, closing a tragic chapter in which Elder Qiu Xita sacrificed himself. The Golden Spear King was annihilated, the Purple Bell King was left empty-handed, and Luo Feng, once looked down upon, became the final victor. After the Golden Spear King's self-destruction and the collapse of the treasure room, the three native lords destroyed the spatial passage, carrying the inheritance back and placing their hope on future generations. Meanwhile, inside the Sacrificial Tower, the true confrontation remained only between Luo Feng and the Purple Bell King. Zizhong was filled with fury when he saw that most treasures had fallen into Luo Feng's hands. He wielded the Purple Ancient Bell, determined to kill his opponent and conceal his secret. But in the narrow labyrinth, Luo Feng quickly retreated, luring him outside. And the moment they stepped out, Zizhong faced a terrifying truth. Luo Feng was the golden-horned beast, possessing peak universe king-level strength. The brief clash forced Zizhong into a disadvantage, making him flee with teleportation. In his rage, he swore he would one day kill Luo Feng, the one who had stolen his treasures and grasped the deadly secret of his supreme treasure. In contrast, Luo Feng was utterly calm. Returning to his spaceship, he reminded himself of the universe's cruelty, 4 universe kings had fallen within a single sacrificial tower. Even the greatest powerhouses were not absolutely safe. His master's teachings about respecting the universe and never becoming arrogant echoed in his heart once again. The climax closed with Luo Feng using his Moshe clan clone to disguise himself as a native of the Yanji continent, deceiving the treasure chest system. When the chest opened inside were 3 world rings filled with a vast hoard, 1% of the total wealth of the most prosperous race that had once dominated the Yanji continent. Luo Feng stood frozen, utterly shocked by the immense scale. If Elder Qiu Xita's death sowed sorrow and the Golden Spear King's destruction revealed the madness of greed, then this moment was the sublimation of destiny. The final steadfast one had emerged victorious.